Kili tuachane na hii kizungu mingi tuseme mambo mbili tatu. Sasa hii kizungu naumiza watu. Wale wenye kusikiza na wenye kusoma. For me, this is a very emotive appearance before you good people. Because one, many years ago, as a young officer, I worked in Magereza House. I had my office in 6th floor, Wing C, room number 610. I know Magereza House like the back of my hand. I've been to each and every penal institution and both institutions in this country. We had an administrative unit seconded from the office of the president. I was an administrative officer to back up the commissioner. He was Mareka then, and Lopokoitu was the deputy commissioner. And many officers, we worked with there, Getuma and others, the late Seure and others, we know them because we have been in this space. And I've been to each and every penal institution. I understand the Kenya Prison Service. Again, I understand the probation, and I'm now happy that it was added the extra responsibility of caring. So when I stand here, I am talking to people that I understand, and I understand their space. By the way, I was a member, and still I am a member of Magereza Cooperative Savings and Credit Society. But I want to admit that I have not been contributing for a while. Because I left the public service and stopped becoming a member, but now that I'm back in the public service, and my personal number is still the same I had, 89026059. I'll ask the Commissioner General to connect me with the Secretary Manager to see whether I can be readmitted and I can start contributing and I can start also borrowing loans. I'm told now it's 4 times. Is it 4 times? Yeah, so mimi ni mtu wenu. Kwa hivyo kama mko na mtetezi wa hii serikali, ni huyu yako hapa. And when the president formed the task force to review the terms of service and condition for police officers, we did ask him that we also include the prisons officers and the NYS, and the report was presented to the president last week, and I can tell you the recommendations are good, and the president is now going through them to start implementation. And in matters welfare, Simbaya, it's not bad, especially for the warders, the warderesses, the NCOs, going up. We are looking at 40% increase spread over a 3-year period because of sustainability and the physical space we are in. I am aware, Commissioner General, of the deplorable housing for prison officers because I saw them. We used to travel with, there was an NSP called Demende, he was in charge of buildings, to go around the country. There were some houses that were stuck in Langata Women Prison for a long time. And I know that a lot of work needs to be done, and I'm happy that our State Department of Housing has already embarked on a program to work on housing, proper and decent housing for our officers in the Kenya Prison Service. And these are things that you are going to see as you go on. I am very excited about corrective services. That word was not there. And I think the whole aspect of our penal institutions is not punishment. It is corrective, as the State Department is called. And we have seen Dr. Mkuba, who was jailed for 7 years in Naivasha. He did not tell us what he did, but it doesn't matter. That he was able, from the confines of the high walls of Naivasha Maximum Prison, to study and come out with an A-. That tells you that some pretty good work is being done behind those huge walls. And he was able to come out, proceed to university, and today he's a doctor of veterinary medicine. That shows that the whole aspect of corrective services is working. His testimony here is a clear indication that those facilities are not supposed to condemn you to death and to poverty. They are meant to make you a better person. The testimony by Edwin, who was at Shimolatewa Booster Institution, went to secondary school and now is pursuing a civil engineering degree at the university, is again another testimony. And I know there are many other testimonies that can be brought here. I want to encourage you, good people, that God has given you a role to take care of the deviants in society. And those inmates who come to you, both petty offenders, serious offenders, those who are committed for life, are in your hands to mentor them, to correct them, and to give them another chance. And it's your responsibility. And it's a God-given responsibility. It's a calling. It's a difficult job to transform people of deviant character and model them into responsible citizens. Is really a very huge responsibility in your hands. And I want to encourage you to continue assisting those members of societies to become better people. The way Edwin has explained here, going to prison does not commit you to death or to a useless life. There is life after serving your sentence. And I agree with him, we need to look at this whole thing of certificate of good conduct. Because we have many people, petty offenders, young people who have really done nothing really very serious, but they have offended the penal code, and they are convicted, and then they have a record. From there, they are committed to a useless life because they cannot get a certificate of good conduct, and they cannot get employment. I think it's something we need to discuss within the criminal justice system and our members of parliament. We must let people to be good people after they serve their sentence. Because that's why the law sets a term. It says 7 years. After 7 years, you'd be free to be another Kenyan, isn't it? I don't think that thing would go well with the corrective services. You correct somebody, then you condemn him into joblessness because he cannot get anywhere because he has a record. What I know and what I think is just supposed to be a record for the purposes of future prosecutions, for the purposes of analyzing who you are. But the fact that you have a criminal record should not condemn you to poverty and a hopeless and useless life. I think we need to relook where people have reformed and they have been corrected, and they are issued a good certificate from the correctional facility. That should be able to cancel the other record so that you can begin afresh. This good doctor here now treating our animals, if you say he cannot get a job, what are you saying? If a guy got an A-, that's a sharp guy. Probably that's why he committed a crime, because he's too sharp. He is too fast for life. He is unable to wait for things to work out well. You know, I think it's a space, and I will initiate that conversation, because I coordinate constitutional commissions and independent offices. In our next symposium, I'm going to bring it up. I want us to have a discussion with our people in the criminal justice system to ask ourselves, do we want, after people have served a sentence and they have been appropriately corrected and they are good citizens, do you want to continue condemning them after that? I think that is something we are going to look at. Again, Commissioner General, I've seen the furniture that you have here. Good furniture. The prisons industry is such a blessing to this country, because you make wonderful furniture The mechanical garages in Kamiti, they are good. But we don't make much out of it because of the marketing component. The way I've told you, PS, let's think through. Once the government, as we have decided, to give you a revolving fund to operationalize the prisons industry so that we stop importing furniture, let us inject private people to come and work with the officers to help them in marketing and managing it into a profitable business. These officers here are good at correcting people. They are not good in marketing. They are not good in business. Let us not give them work that is not theirs. Let them produce the best furniture. Let us get some other characters from the private sector to market them, and also to organize their accounts. And I can tell you, the prisons industry can be the most successful industry in this country because, one, the profits are huge because the labor is free. And there is no rent. So we are just talking of the raw materials only, isn't it? So let us think around that space. PS, I'll also give you my thoughts of what I think we can do so that we create a revolving fund and we make prisons self-sustaining. The prisons farms, there is no reason why our penal institutions should not produce enough food for consumption by the inmates. We shouldn't be buying food because the people are there, the land is there. We just need to inject some professionalism in managing those farms into profitable farms so that we can feed the inmates, feed the officers, and sell the surplus to enlarge our ANA. So these are things that we need to have a discussion. In matters probation, we must encourage that department to strengthen your mechanism to assist the judicial system in making sure that not everybody gets a custodial sentence. I know young people, many young people that I know, who are in custody for us, who are in prison for a petty offense because they could not raise a fine. We want to call upon the judicial system to apply their discretion and avoid non-custodial sentences where it's inappropriate, because it causes congestion in our penal institutions. We have too many inmates and they are not staying in a hygienic manner, and it overstretches our resources. Again, this is a conversation that we need to have within our criminal justice system. The threshold for custodial sentences. Let's try as much as possible to avoid custodial sentences where the crimes are not that heavy. In misdemeanors, we should avoid. Even where people cannot raise fines, we should be able to commit them to go and do communal work, so that then they go back home and they eat from home, so that they don't overstretch the scarce resources that we have as a country. The Boston institutions, I think we need to do a little bit more. There are few, and I think we need to enlarge in that space so that people not of age should never find themselves in prison with criminals and other people who actually radicalize them. People who have not attained the right age to go to the penal institutions. We should increase the Boston institutions with proper schooling facilities, counseling, so that those young people, because they are not yet spoiled, we can model them into responsible citizens for the country. So these are things that PS, as we work on the reforms in the Kenya Prison Service, we need to think about on how we decongest the prisons, how we make them self-sustaining, and how we take care of our young people, and how we avoid having petty offenders alongside other serious offenders. And I think that would really help the country. So maybe ningetaka kusema nimefurahi sana, because you know, if we had not won this election, this one, I would have been one of your subjects. So sisi tunashukuru Mungu, because in the previous administration, the the powers that be had decided to use the criminal justice system to settle scores politically, to punish people who have done no crime, and force them and blackmail them to make certain decisions. So myself, I was being blackmailed to abandon President William Ruto and join Azimio, and I refused. And they said the criminal justice against me, and they were forcing the magistrate to jail me for 20 years in committee. So tunasema Mungu ni mwema. Lakini hata kama wangetufunga, si tungekuja tu tukae huko na nyinyi. Sasa kama mtu amepata A- akiwa huko. And I want to say, it is very bad. It's unforgivable to use the criminal justice system to punish innocent people. The penal institutions are for people who need to be corrected. They are not for punishing people. You cannot use the criminal justice system to punish innocent people, to send them to the penal institutions for the purposes of punishing them. And we are glad that there are some judicial officers who are very firm in ensuring that the rule of law is upheld. In my case, the magistrate was being forced to jail me without any evidence. And he was under pressure. A gun was held over his hand. And when he looked and realized there was no evidence, and I think after he listened to what is happening in the country, he decided the case should only be heard after the elections. And he put it in September. And the DPP was forced to appeal that decision to hear it in September. And he declined. He said it should be heard in September. Because he knew the new government would stop that nonsense. And when we won, the DPP went back to court and said, I had no evidence against me, I was being forced. We want to appeal to our law enforcers in the police force, in the prosecution, and in the penal institutions. Be fair. Be fair to your fellow human beings. If you are a prison officer, don't beat inmates because they are there and harass them. Already they have been confined. That is enough punishment. Denial of liberty is enough punishment. You don't need to go beyond there. Handle those people with empathy and understanding. Let me tell you, PS, let us improve these penal institutions when we have the opportunity. You never know. You never know. You never know. Anybody is a potential client of a penal institution. Isn't it? Those of us who have the responsibility to improve these penal institutions, let us do so. Let us improve them. Even if you don't go there, your own sister could find herself there. Your own brother, your own child. Hospital and prison are potential homes to anybody. Never laugh at people because they are sick. You never know. When you hear somebody has a harambe, unamchekelea ya bile ya hospitali. You don't know. Unasikia mtu amefungwa jela, unasema okay sawa. Wewe hujui. You could even commit a crime unintentionally. You go and knock somebody with a vehicle. You are prosecuted for being negligent, causing death through accident driving. A magistrate decided to jail you for 6 months. Unaweza kwenda uchukue deni ya mtu ukoswe kulipa, ukuwe committed to civil jail for 6 months, uende pale. Na watu wengi sana ni potential candidates ya hiyo ya civil jail. Ya kuchukua madeni nini. Yeah? Hata huyu senator huyu Chiragai tungekuwa na yeye pia. Huyu alikuwa mtu ya kushikwa kila Friday. Yeah? You know, so let us ourselves, all of us, be fair people. There was a minister called Stanley Oloitip. He was a minister for Home Affairs during the Kenyatta era. It's good I tell you that story. He never did anything for the prisons. He was told there are no mattresses. He asked why prisoners want mattresses. He was told there are no blankets. He said they should sleep on the floor. He was told food and ration is not sufficient. He said if they wanted to eat food, they should not have committed the crimes. They should have stayed at home. As fate would have it, he committed a crime, but not a serious one because of politics. He was jailed for 1 year. He was a huge fellow, extremely huge. So when he arrived at committee, there was no uniform that could fit him. So they had to get about 6 uniforms and stitch them in the prison industry for him. Then he was taken to the cell. Then he asked, where is the mattress? Abiwa hakuna, na blanketi hakuna. Hapa sasa mtu atalala namna gani? The prisoner warder told him, yourself, you said in parliament, that there is no need for mattress or blanket in prison. Sasa wacha saa ya chakula ifike. Sinide nawekwa kama nikutupwa. Akauliza sasa hii mimi inaweza shiba. He was a huge fellow. Akaambiwa, you said there is no need to have sufficient food in prison. What am I saying? You are in a position of responsibility to make life better for mankind. Please do so. You never know. So I want to encourage you and assure you that your things are in good space. Be patient. We'll start the implementation of the recommendations effective from July next year. Mutapata nyongeza, lakini pia haina mkiongezwa mchunge pesa yenu. Uitumie vizuri. Let us not use money like you will be working throughout. You must know that one day you retire. Enda pale kwa society, save pesa yako, start a small project so that you also prepare for retirement because you will be there forever. That is my advice to our officers, that be prudent in how you do your things, make savings. You need those savings as you go along. Otherwise, I want to say I was very impressed by the testimony of the 2 people here, the ex-inmates, and really it shows that the corrective services are working, and I want to encourage you to continue rehabilitating and reforming the people put under your care by the justice system, and you wait to society, you wait to God to take care of them and make them better people. I'll look for the officials of the Magereza Society so that I also put some money there so that we increase our shares of our society, and together we can build that society together because it has served me well. I took about 4 loans. And the house where I live today in Karen, I bought it through a loan from Magereza. You know, I saved, and I was able to put a deposit for the house. So I really want to encourage you to continue working hard, continue taking care of these people, continue reforming our citizens, and God will be kind to you and also take care of you in your endeavors. With those very many remarks, I wish you a very successful conference, very successful correctional service week, and may God bless you and bless you abundantly. Thank you very much. Asante.
Let's appreciate His Excellency, the Deputy President, Your Excellency. We request you to join